Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page where this whole thing began as well. Just be aware that I may be way further ahead there than I am here on my channel. So only look it up if you're alright with spoilers. All relevant links are in the description below. And of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then. So, welcome. And what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story. A Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this, now abridged for your convenience, blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay. Now I've gotten that over with, let's go. Today's story is from Kalthis and Co. and we're at chapter 3. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. For a little while after Julian's death, Kellyanne drowned her sorrows in the bubble blower Julian had kept in the nursery. Not that he would blow it often, of course. And she knew that if he could see her now doing it around Kelsey, he would have been furious. But Julian was dead, and she couldn't live without him without some kind of crutch. Drinking was Kellyanne's other crutch. Unfortunately, when she went back to the Stargazer Lounge, she was not only haunted by memories of her and Julian, but she was also haunted by the literal presence of Bjorn, who had returned to his old drinking hole too. The moment he saw her, Bjorn gave Kellyanne the dirtiest look she'd ever seen on anyone's face and walked straight back out again. She felt humiliated and abandoned all over again. After that night, Kellyanne stayed home to drink alone. She didn't deserve that kind of treatment from anyone, least of all Bjorn. He was the one who'd abandoned her while she was pregnant. What right had he to judge her now? Kelsey was almost 2 years old now, and he'd never met her, never even asked about her. He was the bad guy here, not Kellyanne. And that was when Kellyanne Kalthis met Anton Lewis. Anton was the new next-door neighbour, and they kept running into one another in the hallway. He was a friendly guy, not to mention super cute, and Kellyanne had developed a bit of a crush on him. The problem was that Anton was married, and Kellyanne knew it. She had actually met his wife Anastasia, an aspiring actress, first, and really liked her. They shared a passion for fashion. Anton worked away in the military a lot, and Anastasia had confided to Kellyanne that she had worries her husband cheated on her when he was away. So although she started going out with Anton and their other neighbour, Nicholas Lockyer, Kellyanne was steadfast in her resolve to never let anything happen between her and Anton. And Anton was careful too. He actually suspected that his wife had sent Kellyanne with them to spy on him. Why else would his pregnant neighbour be coming out drinking with them? However, Anastasia was far too zen to have done anything as underhanded as that. She definitely suspected that Anton wasn't being faithful to her, but she also worried that maybe she was just being insecure. Her life coach was always telling her that she needed to have more faith in herself. Why would Anton cheat on her? They'd been together for 4 years and had a whole future planned. And so, an uneasy yet seemingly peaceful status quo was reached for a few weeks there, where Kellyanne, Anton and Nick would all go out and drink responsibly together. If you ignored the whole thing where Kellyanne was pregnant, which everybody did for some reason. After all, it wasn't their baby in there. But it didn't take long for the situation to develop. Nicholas Lockyer was a bit of a Lothario, and Kellyanne being pregnant only meant one thing to him. She couldn't get pregnant to him. Nick already had enough trouble on that front. The year before, Katrina, Nina, and Tina Caliente had all had simultaneous pregnancies with him. And a little fun with Kellyanne could be just what he needed. Kellyanne was everything Nick dreamed she was. A smoking hot, vulnerable mama, perfectly prepped for his particular brand of romance. Wait until you're too wasted to be disgusted by my personality. And he was loving it. She was so drunk that night that nothing was off limits. He had the time of his life and had the footage to prove it. Kellyanne woke up absolutely humiliated with herself. How could she have done this? At least last time with Julian, he had loved her. But this? This was dirty and disgusting. Nicholas didn't love anything about her. He had only wanted one thing from her, and because she was drunk and lonely, she had given it to him. What were people going to think? Nicholas reassured her, though. Nobody had to know what they'd done. It could be their little secret. And hey, if she wanted to call him again sometime and have another little, secret, well, he would be more than happy to oblige. He was right next door after all, there for her whenever she needed him. Of course, Nick wasn't really going to keep their night together a secret. He told Anton all about it the first time he saw him. There was no way he was going to believe how nasty their neighbour was. Plus, Anton was such a little hound dog. It would be fun to watch him have to pretend around Kellyanne not to know what she was like behind closed doors. And it was fun. Kellyanne was keeping her distance from Nick now. She didn't want to risk a repeat of that night. But she and Anton still hung out. She had no idea that he knew all about her one-night stand with Nick, so she felt comfortable around him, and Anton didn't want to let her know that he knew what she'd done. Nick would watch from across the bar as his best mate struggled with the secret knowledge he had. It was while she was in the middle of this social quagmire that Kellyanne went into labour for the second time. One of the worst things about it was that she didn't feel like she could call anyone. Nick wouldn't do. Anton would have come, maybe, but she didn't want Anastasia coming too, and so in the end, she went to the hospital alone. Julian's son, Kevin Kalthis, was born at 3 a.m. after a long labour. 27 hours. After his birth, Kellyanne was exhausted and slept so long that the nurses were forced to start her son on formula. She was never able to get him to latch after that. She didn't mind, though. With Kelsey growing up, she had more than enough on her plate, and making 2 bottles at once soon became routine. Now that she was no longer pregnant, Anton found himself unable to resist inviting Kellyanne over. She was hesitant at first, but he insisted that she had nothing to worry about. Wasn't he married? She knew his wife. Anastasia was a gorgeous actress who was more than enough woman for him. He just wanted to hang out as friends. Anton did not just want to be friends. He had a plan. He was pretty sure that Kellyanne was into him. She just wasn't letting herself give in to it because she knew it was a bad idea. That was fine. Anton was patient. He knew that if he just kept hanging around, that eventually temptation would get the better of her and Kellyanne would give in to her base urges. Kellyanne was so loath to do it. She knew it was wrong, but Anton was so sweet and, God, so hot. He worked out literally every day and his sculpted abs showed it. All she wanted to do was lick them all over. It took time, but eventually Anton won her over through sheer steadfastness. They hadn't even been sleeping together for more than a week when Anastasia called them. She'd always known that Anton was unfaithful to her, and because of how jealous and suspicious his wife was, he'd never brought a woman home before now. But with 2 screaming kids next door, ducking over to his place for a quickie had seemed like a good idea at the time. A lesson learned. Anastasia was impressive in her fury, punching Kellyanne right in the face without a second thought. That bitch. She'd confided in Kellyanne, asked her as a friend, woman to woman, to keep an eye on her husband. And what had the dirty slut gone and done instead? Seduced him. She was going to pay for this. But Anastasia wasn't going to give up on her marriage. They were just going to have to make it work and move on. What it took was simple. Anton had to break up with Kellyanne immediately, of course, and they were going to move away. Del Sol Valley had always been the long-term plan, right? She needed to go there eventually for her career anyway. Well, they would just have to accelerate that plan. A fresh start would be good for them both. Anton broke the news to Kellyanne with Nick listening from down the hall as he checked his mail. That night, Nick took Kellyanne over a bottle of wine. Just as a mate, of course. Kellyanne laughed with him when he said that. They both knew why he was really there. And for once, Kellyanne was up for it. That whole thing with Anton had left a bad taste in her mouth. A bit of fun with Nick would help her forget all about it. And unlike the last time they'd slept together, the morning after wasn't awkward at all. She and Nick had a really relaxed breakfast, Kellyanne's favourite, grilled cheese on toast, and chatted about work. Nick worked at a business firm that was trying to break into the online world, and Kellyanne had some good advice for him. It was good, easy even. Maybe they could just have a bit of a no-strings thing. No such luck, unfortunately. A few weeks after her busy weekend with Anton and Nick, and Kellyanne was feeling those terrible familiar sensations. Surely she couldn't be pregnant again already. Kevin was still a newborn. Kelsey had just started walking. How was she going to deal with this? And worst of all, who was the father? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 3 of Kellyanne, Kalthis and Co. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook for spoilers. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Bye!